Hi, my name is John Blair, and in this tutorial I'll show you how you can create a share price ticker for your website. The agenda for this tutorial then is we'll take a look at a demo page that highlights the share price ticker, both in its simple form and its complex form, which accommodates continuous data feeds. We'll take a look at a variation of this ticker used as a news ticker, and another variation that is used as a panel news ticker, just with a different content structure. We'll take a look at the Umbraco architecture behind this, and finally we'll take a look at the code snippets. Okay, let's take a look at a couple of demos. So we'll take a look at the share price ticker, and here we can see two configurations of the ticker. The top one is a simple configuration where we have a data feed that is just presented in a single animation. So that animation will complete and then repeat. This has necessitated the ticker to have a right padding, the width of the container, to ensure the screen clears before it repeats. So here you can see the screen clearing, and then it will repeat. You'll notice that it's alternative data source kicking in now, as there's two feeds that are accessed in a round robin fashion. Some users don't like a gap at the end of a data feed, so if that's the case, then you can configure this ticker to use a continuous feed. It does away with the gap at the end of the data, and instead just streams new data directly onto the end of the existing data. And it also uses two animations to achieve that, and it adjusts the speed of the second animation based on the content width to be the same speed as the first animation, so that both animations move across the screen at the same speed. With the share price feed, you can format individual share prices either by class configuration in CMS, or you can just create a JavaScript method and format a single data item as you see fit. Each data item can be read from the CMS, or it can be read from a fixed data file, or it can be read from an API controller in your website that returns JSON. Now take a look at a variation of that, which is basically the news ticker. So essentially we can feed news articles into this rather than share prices. You can see it's the same type of control. We can use hover to stop the feed at any time. And you can see here that the black theme is actually the ticker wrapper, and it has a left padding 100% of the width of its container to ensure that the feed starts exactly at the right of the control. The ticker itself here, which you see in the pale red, it has its own right padding, which is also 100% of its container to ensure that the feed will clear its container before repeating. So you'll see the yellow fill up the entire black area and then repeat. And And as I mentioned before, you can use an Umbraco API controller as the data feeds. I've configured this one to have 2 URLs for different news sources, so the alternative news source and then the main news source. Again, these use just a simple form of the share price control, so using a single animation. Right, looking at the third variation, and this ticker is the panel ticker. So basically we have panels with a header and a body, and they can move left, right, up or down, and there's callbacks that you could change the way they operate, up or down, left or right. And what we have is the left and right tickers will change to up and down type tickers when in mobile mode. And that completes the demo of the 3 types of ticker we've got. Okay, let's take a look at the Umbraco configuration for the share price ticker. Just a reminder, so we've got 2 share price tickers here, 1, 2. If we look in the CMS, we just have a content page for that. We have a page sections container, which has content sections, so text section, share price configuration section, another text section, and then share price configuration for that. So that gives us text, share price, text, share price. And if we have a look at the share price configuration, we can configure the interval in seconds. We can specify, you can actually specify any number of data feeds, but I've just limited it to 2. I don't get fixed data for these examples, although we'll take a look at the news ticker, which uses the API controller Umbraco. We can also theme the actual wrapper, the ticker itself, and the ticker items. If we didn't want to use feeds, then we can just add a nested content type of data items and pull the data in from there. We can then use the ticker in a continuous feed or not. So the first ticker we'll see we're not using as a continuous feed. We take a look at the second ticker, then we can see that continuous feed is turned on. We take a look at the configuration for the share price ticker. We can actually see that it's the same document type as the news ticker. We just use a different template. And the reason we do that is because the share price uses a JavaScript callback to format the share price ticker item, whereas the news ticker just uses a theme specified directly in the CMS. So different templates allow different configurations of the same jQuery plugin. So we take a look at the newsfeed. We can see that the data items are just set up as a list of nested contents. So content item 1, 2 and 3, so that's it for our fixed data, and we theme it. Alternatively, we can make use of an Umbraco API controller. So here we have the controllers configured and passing parameters just to return two different sources of data in a round robin fashion, just to vary the content for the demo, and that completes the Umbraco architecture. Okay, let's take a look at the plugin. It's called JB Data Ticker plugin. It's a jQuery plugin, and this is the general format of the plugin. So it has some settings, some defaults that can be overridden by the user's options, and it's applied to each element that's targeted, and the plugin itself is given the element is to operate on together with the settings. The plugin functionality is contained within single function JB Data Ticker, and all my plugin functions tend to have the structure. They have an initialize function, they have a function that creates methods used in the plugin, and then they have a function that binds all the events to screen elements that then make use of the methods created. So in general, we initialize the plugin, we create the methods, we bind events, and then we start the animation. So we take a look at the initialize function. Its purpose is to initialize the plugin, so we give it a default of 10 seconds, which is the animation time. We indicate that we want to prefetch data 3 seconds ahead of when the animation finishes. We can control whether we pause on hover or not, whether we use continuous feed or not, whether we use fixed data items, so that this will be taken from our nested content in the CMS if it's present, or whether we use data feeds that will be taken from the data feed parameters in CMS. And the ticket itself, we have it formatted as HTML, and we allow the user of the plugin to override those HTML formats to know what they're doing. The main ticker just uses a single animation. The continuous ticker uses two animations, the main one and an alternative one, in order to give the illusion of continuous data. The user can specify the themes for the plugins. Some defaults given here, but they are overridden by anything in CMS, and you can also specify a JavaScript callback. We'll see that used in the share price ticker template, where we have a callback to format the share price, but it's not used in the news template. It just uses the theme classes to format the news feed. And so that's the initialization. Create methods, I tend to use a C# format equivalent method for formatting strings. I find that extremely useful. Saves a lot of string concatenation. We use a timer to get the data from the data feeds. We get the first feed offset by the prefetched data time, so 3 seconds ahead of when the first animation finishes, and thereafter the fetch will be repeated at the interval time. when we get the data feed, we get it as JSON, and we use our deferred object so that we can pick up the data on a promise, and it just makes for convenient handling of the data. Updating the layout, this is called on each cycle of an animation, or in the case of the continuous feed, when an animation ends, it basically just formats the current data that's been cached from the feed into HTML and then bunged on screen. What we do when we format the HTML is we check its width compared to the main ticker width, and we adjust the speed of the alternative ticker so that both the main and alternative travel across the screen at the same time. This is necessary because the feed would move at different speeds for the same interval based on whether it was shorter or longer in length, and if we didn't do this, we'd find that our feed could crash into the one ahead of it. So this ensures that everything moves at constant feed. Then we just initialize the layout, which is basically generating the animation HTML and starting the timer to update the data. Some methods to start and stop tickers that are used in the event bindings. So in the event bindings, we tap into the animation end for the continuous feed, and what we do in there is basically we update the layout based on new data, and that in itself will change the mode of behaviour of the two animations. The one that was coming onto screen will move off, and the one that was off screen will then move on. So they'll cycle round, giving a nice illusion of a continuous data feed. And the mouse enter, exit events, and then the plugin is just initialized, and we put the methods bind events and start it up, and that's the plugin behavior. We look at the share price alternative template. What this does is it makes use of the ticker format, a callback JavaScript method called share formatter. So we define that in the template, and we pass it into the control, which operates on this content section by its ID, which is just based off of the node ID, and all the options are those values picked up from the CMS, if any are configured. That's all there is to the Umbraco template. If we take a look at the news ticker template, it's a simpler version of the JB data ticker. It just picks up the options from the CMS and passes them straight into the ticker. You'll notice that there's no JavaScript formatting method used to format individual news items, although it could be added if that was seen as beneficial. And just a sample JSON file showing you the type of data that is coming in, and then we have the list file, which just shows some of the styling. So we have our wrapper, which is 100% of its container, and the container tends to be a bit sharp container fluid. And we've got some themes going on. The animations themselves just make use of keyframes. It's just a single animation, then basically we take the data feed and we move it, translate it on the x-axis 100%, so that will move it from being off screen right through the screen, and then with its padding of 100% we'll take it off the screen. And then we have our move away. The second ticker starts where the first one moves off, so that's at 100%, then it will move off to 200%. So one ticker comes on the screen, and then the second one takes it off, and we alternate the ticker classes on the data that's on screen to make this effect happen. So yeah, we've just got some classes there to format things. One of note is this high class there. What I wanted was for the feed to come in onto a blank screen. We do that by hiding the second animation initially. If you take a look at the Bloomberg site, it doesn't do that, it just blats the data straight into the ticker, so that doesn't have a good start look about it. And incidentally, Bloomberg as well, they just update their data directly on screen, so it doesn't come across as a good look. I prefer to update the data off screen so that there's no kind of clunky data changes on anything on screen, and the off screen data will just feed in onto the end of the data that is on screen. And that completes the code snippet tour.